Hi guys, today I'm finally filming a video that I announced over a year ago now, or at least I said that I might make this video, or that I should make this video. It's a short introduction to the Oxford time travel books by Connie Willis. Now, Connie Willis is a big name in science fiction, a long-established author, so you might ask why this introductory video is this really necessary. But I think that all of her novels, but the Oxford time travel books in particular, might appeal to a broader audience than they have even now. To me at least, the Oxford time travel books are at least as much historical novels as science fiction novels, maybe even more so. And that is because the framework in which the time travel takes place in these books is so plausible, so believable, and the world that Connie Willis has established is populated by characters that are so believable as time travelers and are so capable that there is a real sense of realism to these stories, and they can therefore be taken seriously as historical novels, or as speculative historical novels, shall we say. So the books are: number 1, Doomsday Book; number 2, To Say Nothing of the Dog; and number 3 appeared in 2 volumes because it's just such a long story. It's Blackout and All Clear. All of these 3 books are set in a near future in which time travel exists but is extremely complicated. Operating the machines is tricky, and in particular the calculations are difficult that are required to send a person to a specific point in space and time. And so it takes highly educated and trained mathematicians and engineers to do that. It's extremely sophisticated, and it's therefore only done by and in universities and research facilities. I think some suspension of disbelief is required here, because I think in reality things would have gotten out of hand pretty quickly, and shady scientists would have made a lot of money working in secret on the side for private employers and sending dilettantes back in time instead of the historians that they are sending in this universe. And probably sooner or later some paradox would have been created that would have made the whole universe implode or something like that. And in fact, in the second book, To Say Nothing of the Dog, which is set a little bit after the first book, some developments have been taking place, and the time travel has developed a little bit beyond the strictly scientific use for research purposes. So the travels that take place in these 3 books, I'm treating Blackout and All Clear as one book. The travels go to the late Middle Ages, the Victorian period, and to World War II respectively. And all 3 books can be read independently of each other. But Doomsday Book, getting it out from the bottom of the stack, Doomsday Book is the one that was written first, and in it Connie Willis establishes this scientific framework in which the time travel takes place and the rules of her universe. So if you are curious to know how it all works, it would be best to start with this book. The information that you get in the other books is rudimentary, but it is always enough for you not to feel at sea. You do get a good grasp of the technological side as well as the political aspects. And I mean, it's time travel. What more do you need to know at the end of the day? So in this book, like in all of the books, the protagonist is a historian. She's a grad student at Oxford and gets sent back in time to the Great Plague, the Black Death in the 14th century. She gets sent back to rural England, to a small village, And in the now, in the present day, so our near future, certain events happen that make it so that she can't get out again, because she is not picked up again, so to speak. So now she has to stay and make the best of it and keep her head above water as the village crumbles to pieces around her, and as people to whom she has become emotionally attached fall ill and die, and the village priest, who has become her friend, falls more and more into despair. And in a way she is at an advantage, because she approaches the plague without superstition, of course, and so her approach is sober and practical. On the other hand, she knows how bad it is going to get, so in a way hindsight is also scary in this case. All in all, this is a very quiet novel with a very narrow focus, and it's just a play with the idea of what it would be like for a modern person to be sent back to this place and time, but also what it would be like for the people of the time and place to come face to face with a person from the future. And it's not like that is ever revealed to them that the protagonist is from the future, but they can of course sense that she is in some way alien. This plot idea of a person who gets stuck in time gets taken up again in the third book, Blackout and All Clear, and I'm only going to hold them up like this one time because they're just too heavy. So this being stuck in time gets taken up again, but in a much more dramatic fashion. In this case, it's 3 historians who get sent back in time to World War II, 2 women and 1 man. One gets sent to London during the Blitz, one gets sent to the countryside where she is following, or was supposed to follow, some children who had been evacuated. And one gets sent to Bletchley Park, or at least that's where they were all supposed to have been sent back to, but they get sent to slightly different times and locations. And the consequence of that is that they are all unprepared for the reality that they are facing. And for some reason, unbeknownst to them, they don't get picked up again either. So now they have to navigate this new reality that they weren't prepared for, all on their own. And they have to get by unassisted and survive where they have been dropped. They immediately begin to try and converge on each other so as to pool their resources and to help each other out, and just for emotional support, of course. And so this is the story of how they survive and if and how they get out again and to their present time eventually. It is a super dramatic, super suspenseful, and highly, highly emotional story. And for me, one of the best historical novels set in the 20th century that I have read. Book number 2, To Say Nothing of the Dog, on the other hand, is one of the funniest books that I've ever read. It's genuinely laugh out loud funny. It's a comedy of manners, and it's set mainly in Victorian Oxford, although of course there are also portions where it's set in the present, which is our near future. And the protagonist here, a young man, is again a grad student of history who is reeling from a job that he is doing, he has more or less been forced to do for a private benefactor who is trying to recreate Coventry Cathedral the way it used to be before the Second World War. And they have to retrieve information about the objects inside the cathedral and the windows, etc. But the benefactor is a crazy rich old lady, and the protagonist just needs a break from all that. And he gets that in the form of a female colleague who has committed a faux pas during one of her research trips to Victorian Oxford. And she has committed the faux pas of meddling by rescuing a kitten from drowning, or from being drowned rather, which she was not supposed to have done. She was supposed to be an onlooker only and not to have altered events. So now they have to do damage control. They have to go and alter events back, so to speak, and they have to go and make it so as if the kitten had never been rescued. And in the process of doing so, during this quest, the two of them discover that their two projects are actually related in unforeseen ways. And Victorian Oxford holds the solution to a riddle that gave the protagonist a headache in 20th century Coventry, or turn of the century Coventry. And it's a total romp, just one crazy event after another. But while the stakes are undeniably high, as you will discover, the events themselves are rather trivial, and they are all absurd in that genteel fashion of Victorian Oxford. And it's a bit, the atmosphere reminds you a bit of an E.M. Forrester novel. And it's lighthearted, but definitely also sarcastic, but in a good-natured way, just like the novella that inspired it, Three Men in a Boat, to say nothing of the dog, by Jerome K. Jerome. So as you can see, while these three novels all take place in the same universe, and while they all operate within the same pseudo-scientific framework, they are all extremely different from one another. To Say Nothing of the Dog is obviously the book to go to when you are in the mood for comedy, romantic comedy and comedy of manners. Blackout and All Clear are for when you want some real high-stakes drama. And Doomsday Book, which, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do content-wise with the Doomsday Book of William the Conqueror. A Doomsday Book is for when you want a very quiet, atmospheric read about what it would be like for a modern person to develop relationships with people from the 14th century. So I hope that I could make you a little bit curious about three books that are among my very favorite historical novels, and I think are some of the best entertainment in book form that is out there. And if you've read the Oxford time travel books, or some of them already, I'd love to hear what you think about them in the comments. Until next time, thank you for watching, guys. Bye!